Okay, Kyle, let's talk about you first. So this is a
Okay.
nice little small little film that I liked. It surprised me. And I've been watching two and three films a day because of all the stuff that's been going on cross country. Talk about why number one bad dad is a nice film to watch. It's very creative and it surprised me. I was not expecting this.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Um, I think you should watch number one Bad Dad. I mean, it does take place in a very stylized genre setting, which was a big foundation for this story. But at the heart of it, it's a father-daughter redemption story. About two people who come, who are inherently related, but they come from different places and they kind of have to learn how to interact with very complex feelings towards each other. A lot of anger, a lot of hostility, but they have that in common as well. So to find that commonality between them and to, develop a relationship out of that is kind of where that started. And I wanted to put that in like a superhero comic book context because it makes it more fun and you get to play around with it a lot more.
And Natalie, talking about playing around with things, the dialogue, just the action, being a little kid, you get a chance to do anything that that person wants to do.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it's gritty, it's spunky, it's unpredictable, and at the heart of it, it's all about what do you do when you've been labeled a monster and how does that impact even your most personal, intimate relationships with your daughter? How does a daughter who is rambunctious and going to make demands and has that grit to show up and demand the things that she needs? It was a lot of fun to explore the different aspects of her personality and to really accentuate that relationship that she has with Diana, to really bring the audience into the story. And it's so beautiful to hear all the like the responses that people care about Diana when she gets exploded, that to be in the audience at me show and to hear the as that moment happens.
Talk about picking and casting the right performer for this. That's really, really important. Boy, was she good.
So we worked with casting director Alan Luna, who was such an important part of our team. He really brought us over. I mean, we definitely looked at hundreds of video submissions, and then we were able as a team to narrow it down. With Holly, I mean, also with Sal, not as much, but with Holly, because there's the performers that are submitting their videos are so young, we could have gone in a million directions, and this film would be totally different. As you know, like casting, the film is almost remade. Any ideas that we had about what the film was going to be get completely thrown out the window when you finally hear and are in the room with these beautiful, remarkable, talented people bringing in their rendition, bringing in their spirit and their grit for Holly. And but really, more than anything, it was the vulnerability. We needed actors, performers who were going to be able to not only land the jokes and the attitude, but also be able in a very earnest and honest way let us peer into their souls and for us to believe it. Even with Sal's character, it was like we need somebody to make the jokes, not just to hit them, but to make them in a way that felt honest to who he really was. And I felt like Peter Pasco did such a great job. And he was so resilient because while we were filming, he was very sick. Both he and I were super sick. We were taking COVID tests every morning, not knowing what was going to happen if we tested positive, but not wanting to endanger anybody. So doing our due diligence, and it was like doing a scratcher for the lotto every morning. It's like, okay, so are we going to win or are we going to lose? And he'd be like, but what happens? I was like, we're not going to think about what happens if, we're just going to take the test and take this one beat at a time. Like, there's no reason to stress out for no reason. And that actually in a way added tension to the confrontation scene between him and Holly at the end, at the climax of our film, because Liliana was scared of getting sick. You know, there was a moment where we ended up actually just pulling her out of the scene altogether because the coverage didn't need her there. And Peter actually wasn't able to hit the peak of his anger until we pulled her out because he was so dialed in to how his performance might be impacting her. And so that was a really interesting thing to discover on set because sometimes, you know, it's always different with players. Like sometimes it helps to have that other person there to bring out the performance, and other times it's actually more helpful to not have the person there. And that was my first time discovering as a director that it wasn't in that particular case.
You know, what I really liked about this film is, you know, I think this the last 8, 9 years have been all the short films have just been spectacular, and the child talent that I saw this year has just been off the hook, and it's one of these things that it gives you hope of future actresses and actresses coming up to be who they could possibly be because you just never know. But they are really, really good. I'm just amazed by that. And you know, and Kyle, the thing that I really liked about this, it reminded me of Superman's vulnerability when you're opening the scene of that of what he was going through. You know, you're not supposed to have a relationship. You know, you're not really supposed to connect with him. You're supposed to be by yourself, and all of a sudden, this kid shows up, and I thought that was brilliant, and it did work perfectly.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I mean that is kind of like the thing about these characters, right? Like it's always their responsibility. Or in this case, you know, it is different because this is more of instead of a superhero, it's a supervillain, so there's kind of like a different moral code that goes along with it. But I think yeah, there is this kind of notion of you know, keeping yourself isolated and you know, in his case, he feels like he's kind of like this dangerous person. He's been painted that way. Um, so yeah, I think that's his kind of natural inclination to isolate himself and kind of stay away. You know, so then it's interesting to see that challenged when somebody kind of like just like barges into his life. And like Natalie, you know, says she demands to be there and to have this person in her life. And he kind of has to reconcile with that. And yeah, it's interesting because the relationship is I don't what am I trying to say here? Um I think you know, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
I
you
feel
were
like you
you
were I feel like you're about to segue into that beautiful reflection about the depth that you so much enjoy about comic books and how you're able to like I don't want to speak for you, but I know I felt like this was the direction you were going.
Yeah, right, because that's what your question is, right, Brian? I mean, or is
yeah, the being vulnerable but not being able to have a relationship. And you know, how can I have a relationship and all of a sudden this little girl walks into my life as a super or ex superhero?
yeah,
It doesn't compute, and that's why this film works.
correct. Yeah. I don't um yeah, it is it's an interesting take on that kind of relationship because you don't always see it from this perspective. You don't always get like the supervillain kind of domestic story that this one kind of tells.
And that's why it worked. That's a good thing. Hey, last question. Where can people see this next? And talk about social media links so people can keep track of where it may be going next.
Where are we playing next? We're playing in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we're playing at the Oklahoma Latino Film Festival. We're also playing at Cine Mas in San Francisco. That's this upcoming weekend and next weekend. And you, I mean, we're at one, like the number. So one bad dad is our Instagram handle, and you can see.
It's one bad dad film.
You're right. Thank you. One Bad Dad Film is our Instagram handle. And then you can follow Kyle and I and the rest of our beautiful team that helped us put this together from there. We have posts that are dedicated to each of us. And yeah, we're just so excited to keep going on the journey. Thank you, Brian, for making some time for us this morning. I appreciate you.
Well, sorry about that. I completely forgot because I'm working on my friend's ranch. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I went in to check the email because it's colder out, it's muddy. That's why I'm laying in bed because it's like so chilly out in northern Illinois right now. But it's one of these things where you got to support the arts no matter what, because it's important. And I didn't look at it as a Latino film. I looked at it as just a good film. So that means you guys did a good job.
Thank you.
That means a lot.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you for saying that.
Is really important to us. I feel so proud that we were able to make it. I think it's my first time actually ever making something that was able to cross over into mainstream and wasn't just looked at as a Latino film. So
it's very good. It's very, very good. Eddie almost would love to have had this, you know, Latino Film Festival in Los Angeles, just to let you know, because I know what his taste is like.
Oh, definitely put it on his radar, please, because we did submit our film, but it didn't get in. And I don't know.
Here's one last thing when it comes to stuff. When I was running the Hollywood Film Festival and I go cross country, which is why I'm in northern Illinois right now, I know what it's like. If a film doesn't get in, doesn't mean it's not a bad film. Just means that they've had something similar like that it might have been better, or they might, you know, it's a 10-minute rule, which I absolutely have never gone for. I've always watched the movie from beginning to end, still do. And I started doing this back in 1987. That's how long I've been doing this for. So it's one of these things. I know what the process is like when you submit films, when it used to be Film Freeway and everything like that. So it's not about that. It's just like they get so many, and a lot of times they just run out of time, or they've got something that's similar to it. So, but congratulations to the ones that you've gotten to. That means people are getting it.
Thank you. Yeah, it means the world. It means the world that we were able to premiere at Slam Dance, and that we just even.
And I was at Slam Dance with Peter Baker and everything, and I found some really good stuff. So they were on our show. So they've already given me stuff that they have to preview for next year already. I'm like, okay, I'll take a look at this now, because I like to be way ahead. That's why.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's so great.
Keep it going.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
And I love this film so much. I'm going to actually follow you guys.
Yay!
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay.
Likewise.
Yeah, of course.